Hey, what is going on, guys? Alex here. And hold on, I gotta get my charger in all the way. Oh wait, I guess it's in all the way. Okay, so Alex here, and I'm going to give you guys kind of a review of The Last of Us 2. Sorry, I don't mean to really talk loud. It's just now I can talk loud because my parents aren't home, so it's kind of nice. I can actually do a review without like my parents being yelling down the stairs, being like, "God, why are you being so loud down there? You having a heart attack or something?" So anyways, yeah, I figured this would be a great time to finally do a review of The Last of Us. Now, I told you guys way back in the day, I wasn't going to do a review on this game until I actually legitimately beat it. Now, I didn't beat it on the hardest difficulty, I beat it on normal, but I still beat the game. PS4 was the console that I played on, of course, because, you know, it's for PS3, PS4. Sorry, Xbox fanboys, you guys are missing out. You guys probably thinking this game sucks because it's not on Xbox, but I'm sorry, what am I going to do about it? Naughty Dog has exclusivity with PlayStation and Sony, so what do you expect me to do about my goals? Okay, so, the storyline, basically, if you guys don't know the storyline, which I don't know how you don't know, like, kind of a little bit about the storyline, because it's been out since about 2013, the game has, so basically the storyline is, you play as Joel. Alright, Joel, there's like a prologue kind of sequence towards the beginning of the game where he's just kind of figuring out the infection. There's this big infection. I think he was in like somewhere in Texas. I can't remember where the frick, like Austin, Texas or something like that. The game starts off. I don't really remember. But yeah, you start off there. And then you see the infection. You're with you and your like brother Tommy and your daughter, and there's an infection going on. And basically, you guys like drive into this town or whatever, and then another nuts driver like crashes and hits you. When then your daughter breaks her leg at the beginning of the game. When then you try to like run down freaking alleyways and shit, and you try to get away from all the like I guess kind of zombies. They're actually called like runners in this game. They're not called zombies. There's like 3 different kinds, which we'll get into that in a little bit. But yeah, basically you guys are like running down the streets and stuff. It's kind of nuts. And then you kind of make your way to like the outer part of town. And this is kind of where it gets interesting, because you don't really get to know us at the beginning of the game. But the guys that actually like try to stop you, these guys are called the Fireflies, and they're basically sort of like I don't know what you would call them, if you would call them like a cartel or some sort of like control mechanism. That's pretty much what these people are. And they try to like stop you from exiting the town, and this is more prominent 20 years later in the game when you know, you guys are using ration cards to get from A to B. So yeah, basically the daughter, long story short, you guys are running through the freaking city and shit, and you're trying to figure out where the fuck to go to be safe. A Firefly soldier, he shoots your daughter, and your daughter dies because, you know, there's eternal bleeding, and, you know, it's a really sad and moving scene. So yeah, I should have said that there might be a little bit of spoilers in this video at the beginning, so sorry about that, but yeah. Okay, so anyways, basically, then the real game after that takes off 20 years later, or I think like 25, I'm not really sure. But yeah, you kind of meet up with Tess, which is kind of like your sidekick, I guess. A little ways into the game. She is kind of like killed off midway through the storyline. But yeah, basically, one thing that they did really well with this game is they actually made it feel like a survival game, like a real-time strategy game, and not like bullshit. They didn't make it. No, it's not an open world game. By no means is it an open world game. It's actually a very linear game, but yet they managed to pull it off in such a way. They made some of the levels feel a little bit open-ended, so it feels like you actually have choice. You know, it's not like a maze. You get to actually choose your routes. Okay, so this isn't, while it's not a fully fleshed open world game, because there are several different levels that progress you through the storyline, it is a very well and thought every level is perfectly designed. I don't think I've ever seen a level that's like really flawed. I mean, I might have got frustrated through the campaign trying to figure out where the hell I'm supposed to go at times because the game doesn't really hint you where you're supposed to be going, which is fine because it's supposed to be a real-time strategy game. But yeah, it's pretty awesome. I really love the storyline. I thought the characters were great. It did kind of piss me off though that there's like this two set of characters, which I'm not gonna spoil their names or anything, but there's like these two really good characters midway through the storyline. It's like they're kind of cool, and like one thing that they really did is they got the AI spot on. Like you actually feel like you're fighting people. Either you feel like you're fighting people, and it's really cool because midway through the game, there's gonna be a lot of sections where it's not just gonna be you and one person. I think midway through the game, there's this couple you meet up with, this like son and his boy, and basically you guys meet up and it's just so badass because it feels like you're strategizing with like these other characters trying to figure out how to. It's just so badass when you get in a group because it doesn't happen that often throughout the game. So the times that it did happen was when it really shined because it's really good. Like it doesn't feel like an easy game at all. It feels like a real-time strategy game, like what a real-time strategy game should feel like. When you're all alone, you should feel very vulnerable and you should be scared and you should want to think a little bit more, which I think there's only like a few levels in the game where I think you're actually completely alone. Otherwise, there's this other girl, Ellie, which you'll learn more about through the storyline. Basically, her caregiver, her name was Marlene. Well, Marlene allowed her to go on like sort of this big trip, and that's pretty much how the story progresses. Is you're trying to make this. Long story short, this girl Ellie, she gets bit, and basically you guys go out on this journey. Essentially, they say you're smuggling this girl at the beginning of the game, but then you realize you're actually trying to go and bring her to Fireflies and get her cured. Because at the time, like at the beginning of the game, her wound is like 3 weeks old because she was bitten by one of the runners. So yeah, it's a very good game. Actually, the reason I'm not like huge, I mean, I am a zombie fanatic to some extent. I mean, I love The Walking Dead. It's pretty awesome. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if The Last of Us was like super inspired by The Walking Dead, but like normally when people think of zombies, they're like, oh, that's just an easy way out. That's just video game companies being lazy because, zombies are all the rage these days. But really, this game is actually kind of interesting. This game, I hate to say it, I hate to sound like a fanboy, but this game is an exception because it actually takes a realistic approach to the zombies. So, there is actually, basically what they're saying is, I can't remember what the disease is called really, but it's actually a real life disease, that is actually found, that can actually affect like ants and like insects and stuff. Well, I don't know about ants, but it affects probably like scorpions or something. I'm not really sure, but it basically affects them to some point where they get like, if they get bit with another insect that has the same heredity, it can actually cause an infection that makes them grow like, I don't know what you call them, like spores and stuff, like on their faces and stuff, and makes their faces swell and stuff. And scientists have actually found out about this. And basically, when it spreads to all of these different insects, they all get sick from it. Well, basically, what Naughty Dog, when they were developing this game, is they kind of had this cool twist. Like, what if that came to humans? And that's essentially what the game is about. That's how the apocalypse gets started in the first place. And I believe there's about 3 different kinds of these runners. There's the really mild ones, which are, I believe, the clickers. No, not the clickers. There must be somebody under the clickers. I'm not really sure. But the clickers, because their faces are so swelled up over time, because, they get sick, they die, and when they turn, their faces get all swelled up. And basically, obviously they can't see, so they actually use sonar, which real humans can actually use sonar. Like, if you're legally blind, you could potentially use sonar radiations to figure out where you're going, or these clicking sounds like bats. So that's why they were called clickers, and they're the ones with the faces swelled up and stuff. And I can't remember what the one under the clickers is called. I think there's one under them. And then basically, once they turn into clickers, then it actually gets even... No, the runners. Okay, so the runners are the first ones. They're the ones that still look somewhat human, but they're not. Obviously, they're turned. They're already dead, but they've turned. They're runners now. They can run around. They have good coordination. They still have all the human instincts there. They're just not really humans anymore. And then there's, of course, the clickers, which, of course, we already said they use sonar vision and stuff to get their way around. Kind of like bats do. They make like a clicking sound, and whatever that clicking sound bounces off of, they can detect sound in their surroundings. And believe it or not, there was actually a real kid in real life. I can't remember what his name was, but there actually is a kid in real life that actually uses sonar vision. And he says he believes he can like see like everything. He can see the ocean, and he can see like if he's in a room or something, he can see the couch and he can see the TV. He may not actually be able to see it. He may not have sense organs in his eyes, so he can't actually see like a real person would. But he can make this clicking sound or whatever. I can't remember how he really does it. I think he does have a cane sometimes, but for the most part, he can like skate. I mean, he's blind and he can run around his house and like chase his brothers and shit. And he can play video games. And he's blind. He's legally blind, but yeah, he uses like sonar vision. I have no idea how that works towards playing video games, but frick, he can do it. So yeah, okay, so that's pretty much an example of clickers. That's how they get around in the game. And then there's okay, so there's the bloaters. The bloaters now, they're the third ones. They're the final stage of these infected. So the bloaters, basically the bloaters are the ones that maybe they did turn into clickers or runners and clickers, and then they died because they killed them. Well, see, runners, it doesn't matter if they were a clicker or a runner or if they're dead or not. Even if you killed them after they turned, it doesn't matter because, see, what happens to a clicker, or not a clicker, well, if there are clickers at that stage, what essentially happens to them is once they're like so dead, like they're not gonna function. They're not gonna have any maneuverability or whatever. They're not gonna move anymore. They're just completely dead. What's gonna end up happening is they're going to like all the fungus as their bodies are decomposing. All the fungus is actually gonna come together, and it's basically over time. I don't know how long it actually takes. But basically, the fungus will evolve into its own organism. All the rotted materials from the excess body will like form like a bloater, and it'll be like its own organism. And that's the worst ones because they have like a lot of health. I mean, if you really strategize, you can take them out. But yeah, so those are the bloaters. They kind of came like allowing on like random parts in the game that really didn't make any sense. It's kind of pointless, but yeah, those are the bloaters. Those are the worst kinds of infected that you get in the game. And yeah, basically the story is, you're trying to get to the Fireflies, you're trying to get the cure, and I'm not really going to spoil it for you guys, but that's pretty much the game. So let's kind of get onto the storyline because, holy shit, this video has been going for 13 minutes and all I've been talking about is the storyline in the game. And I know I'm sounding really vague, but I don't want to spoil the game for anybody who hasn't played it. So anyways, okay, so let's talk about gameplay now. Let's talk about gameplay. So, the gameplay is, very, very nice. The gameplay is like, if like Uncharted was a little bit more like I don't even know how to say it, more like complex, that's what you get with the gameplay of The Walking Dead, or not The Walking Dead, The Last of Us. That's the kind of gameplay you get. It's very strategized. You got to think a lot. There's a cover. It's kind of a cover shooter game, but not really. The cover system is kind of like an artificial cover system. It's just like duck here, duck behind here, and then occasionally you'll get an animation that kind of makes it look like there's a cover scheme in the game, but it doesn't look as natural as say other games with their cover shooters. It's not the most like organic cover shooter that they could have possibly made, but there is some cover shooter gameplay. It's kind of stiff, but maybe they'll get that worked out in the next game. I will say this, so some of the menus, or the weapon selection menus, are kind of wonky. I definitely, if there's the Last of Us 2 game, they need to work out those kind of menus. Maybe make like a weapon wheel like what Grand Theft Auto has, because like, I hate to harp on it, but the weapon wheel is pretty good. I hate to sound like a Grand Theft Auto fanboy, but the weapon wheel is pretty good, and I think that would work really well. That would have worked really well with The Last of Us, so, I don't know, I don't really like that whole tile scheme. I think it was supposed to be like a mock of Black Flags, like, well, Unity too, I think Unity pretty much had like the same, like, weapon selection screen. But yeah, I just don't like the weapon selection screen in The Last of Us. I wish they had like a wheel, like a rotating wheel where you could select your weapons from. That would be a little bit better, because then you could like instantly just flip the like thumbstick at a specific angle and get the exact weapon you want. Because the cool thing about this is, I believe there's like a mild weapon custom. Well, you get to create your own weapons. You get to create shivs. You get to create not just you can like customize rifles, but Sappers, I don't think you get rifles until like the way end of the game, which is kind of weird. But yeah, there's swan-off shotguns. There's wooden bats, there's aluminum bats, there's axes. There's an incredible like good amount of melee combat. I mean, the melee combat is really fresh. I don't think I've seen melee combat quite this good in a video game. I mean, they really nailed it with the gunplay and the melee combat. I mean, it's just seamless. 1 minute you'll be shooting, and then the next 1 minute you'll just be trying to beat the shit out of somebody, fight them off if they're like chasing you with an axe, and then you'll try to grapple away from them, and then like run off a little ways, and then charge back at them, or maybe like run and then try to save yourself. Heal yourself up real quick, because this game doesn't actually have a health regeneration system. You actually have to manually heal yourself up, and you better make sure, because like a lot of the levels, like every single level in the game allows you to scavenge around the area, and there are a lot of secret places to find stuff. So like the great thing is there's no like time limits or anything in this game. So the great thing is you can go out and scavenge as long as you want. Like say if you're like on one of the more massive levels where there's like log cabins and stuff, and there's like a huge like log cabin community, like I don't freaking know, but there are a few levels in the game like that where you can like sneak around and go into people's cabins. There are a lot of innerable interiors. I mean, this game doesn't really limit you. I mean, even though it's a linear game, they make it feel fairly fleshed out. So yeah, I really do love the gameplay, and my final verdict would probably be, I would give it a 10 out of 10, but I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10, because there are just, I hate to say it, but The Last of Us has a few little quirky things that don't make it a perfect game. But nonetheless, it's a great game. I would totally pick it up. What I did was I actually got the PS4 bundle back in December of 2015. And it's just one of the greatest games I've ever played. I mean, gosh. I mean, it's so awesome because, like, I remember when Naughty Dog made games like frickin' Crash Bandicoot. I remember when I was 5 years old playing Crash Bandicoot on the PS1. And now look how far they've come with their games in terms of, like, graphics and stuff. It's just insane what they've done with Uncharted, and potentially who knows where The Last of Us is going to go. No, I know a lot of people said they don't want to see a sequel to The Last of Us because they feel like it should be like one of those games where it's like, okay, so it's done. They told the story. They got to their destination, whatever. But for me, I just say it. No pun intended, but the game literally ended on a cliffhanger. Not maybe, I mean, literally. Like, well, basically you'll see what I mean when you beat the game for yourself. But yeah, so my final verdict is 9 out of 10. Again, I would give it a 10 out of 10, but again, some of the menus are kind of clunky, and the cover system. Actually, so I hate to say it, but I would knock it down to an 8 out of 10. So yeah, final verdict for The Last of Us, 8 out of 10. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like, comment, rate, and subscribe if you want to see any more awesome reviews. And please, have a great day, or night, or whatever you're watching this. I really don't care. But yeah, this video is almost 20 minutes. So yeah, bye. Whoa.